Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Prospect Corner here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, joined by Dayton Reimer and Peter Baracchini. And we are, preparing for the World Juniors already. And it's, we're actually only about 20 days away from it as we're recording, always on Boxing Day when the tournament kicks off. And Team Canada will be releasing their roster on Monday. So we're just going to go through and talk about some guys that could potentially be on that roster when they release it. And World Juniors is always fun to watch. We get to see all the top talent that Canada, US, all the other nations get to offer. And the US are gunning for a three-peat. So maybe Canada can knock them off the pedestal because they've been winning quite a bit lately. So let's start with the forwards, which have a lot of great talent on it again. A lot of first-round picks, a lot of guys that are going to be potentially for the 2026. Mostly they're already drafted, but Gavin McKenna, of course, is on here. And so I'll start with you, Dayton, on the forward group that's projected. Daniel did the article projecting the roster. Who are you looking at in the forward group right now that you'll be watching as the tournament gets kicked off here?
I think I'm probably looking at some of the guys he mentioned that are maybes on the list. That would be headlined by Michael Misa. He is currently with the San Jose Sharks, and he's playing NHL minutes, so that's nothing to, kind of shirk as we're getting into the tournament here. He's just recently drafted. He's got 20 games already. He's not finding a ton of success, or at least not a ton of points. Only 5 assists so far. He should be released to play some World Juniors. I think that would be fantastic for his self-confidence, get him into a bit of a rhythm, and then he can come back to the NHL and, hopefully take the Sharks kind of by storm there. I also wonder about Berkeley Catton. He was not mentioned, but maybe we can talk about him later.
Yeah.
I've got a list here. I got confused. Ben Kindle is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because he was mentioned as probably not going to be joining. He has 7 goals, 10 points, 23 games with the Penguins. That's pretty good. But maybe playing on the World Juniors would be a lot of fun right now. The Penguins are doing pretty good. Maybe they don't want to break up things right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but probably those 2 guys would be the most interesting of that forward group mentioned. Misa, a likely candidate. Kindle, less likely. There's other guys he mentioned too that there's no way. Like Beckett Seneca has 20 points in 7 games. Not happening. No, he's staying with the Ducks.
Yeah.
Same with technically Macklin Celebrini could play, but that's not happening. He's at a 1.43 points per game.
Yeah.
He's looking at the Olympics.
Yeah, that's his next international tournament for sure. Peter, what about you for this forward group? It's a very talented group. We all know the talked about Canada, who they didn't bring last year. And there are guys on here that, we're looking at this projected roster. They have some really great talent that potentially could put the Americans on notice that to maybe get them off that streak of success. Who are you looking at here?
Yeah, looking at a guy that probably should have made it last year had it not been for an injury, and that's TJ Ginla, because he is off to a pretty decent start again. 27 points in 16 games for the Kelowna Rockets. He had 32 and 21 last year. Was looking really hot until I believe it was a shoulder injury or upper body injury. I know that for a fact. We'll double check on that once I get around to it. But yeah, I felt that Team Canada kind of needed a little bit more of an offensive push last year. Had he been healthy, I think he would have been a really dynamic force for them. And I think he's going to do just that right now for Canada. I feel like he's going to be a lock for them, especially on the wing too. Daniel has him, penciled in alongside Jet Lachenko and Michael Haig. I think that is a fantastic combination of the two-way play up the middle and then the skill and creativity that both Haig and Iginla can have. I think that'll be a really, strong and complementary second line to the top unit where it could be McKenna, Misa, and Martone at this point. I am wondering about, some guys that further down the lineup, like maybe like a Liam Greentree. Does he have enough to try and push the needle? Could someone like Merrick Vanacker push his way through, because he is leading the Ontario Hockey League right now with 24 goals right now. And, this is a back-to-back Chicago season where their top prospect is leading the league in goals right now, where they had Nick Lardis last year, Merrick Vanacker this time around. So I wonder if they want to go a little bit skill and have that a little bit, more physicality and, menacing factor to their game. They could go with Vanacker as well. And Matt, you're going to like this too, but I think Braden Coots definitely does have should have a decent chance to make Team Canada as well. I know he's more of a centerman, but in this tournament, you got to get comfortable playing on the wing too. If you already have enough centers up the middle of the ice, or if you feel like you could push somebody else to the wing and Coots is going to be that guy up the middle, he's got fantastic IQ. Like he's very smart. He's very skilled. And as we saw at the U18 tournament last year, he can put up points. I know that was probably the main sticking point is, can he be an offensive and dynamic threat? And lo and behold, when he's taking charge and he's leading the way, he definitely can do just that. So I think Vanacker and Coots are like two guys that aren't really mentioned that I think could push their way through. Justin Carbonell, again, if you're looking for a guy with tremendous skill and creativity that could do wonders with the puck, I was in shock and awe what he did at times last year in the QMJHL. I think he's got a lot of upside too. I mean, Caleb Desnoyers is a winner in the past years for Team Canada. You could rest assured that he's probably a lock because of his resume, and I think he's going to do just what he did in the past years as well. For them, Jake O'Brien, I think he's another name that you got to watch out for, and I think he could move further up into the lineup where I think maybe he could be that third line center alongside Reshny and Greentree, or even you push Cole Baudouin off to the wing as well. I think he's more suited in that position that he is up the middle in this kind of tournament as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, you look at this forward group right now, it's got a lot of depth, a lot of skill, a lot of talent, and compared to last year, a lot more of offensive upside as opposed to just getting those role players. You'll still have a few of them, but a lot of guys that can still have a lot of that skill and can generate a lot of damage or do a lot of damage in the offensive zone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was surprised Braden Coots wasn't on this. He's started off, of course, made the NHL to start the season, and then went back to WHL, and he's ripping it up right now. He's on a bit of a streak, goal scoring wise. In the last 4 games, he's got 3 goals in 4 games, I believe. And he's a leader. And like you mentioned in the U18s, he led them to a gold medal and led the team in scoring. So, I mean, that's a guy that I think is definitely on the radar for Team Canada. And we'll see if he's part of that roster, because he can also do all that role player stuff, win faceoffs, kill penalties, type thing, and showed that offensive upside internationally as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the roster, although you're also looking at so much other talent. Canada just has so much to choose from. There's going to be guys going to be left off. So we'll see if Coots can kind of push his way through. But I'd love to see him, because usually Canucks don't get a lot of guys to go to World Junior, especially for Canada. It's a very rare thing, and it'd be great for him to be there for his first World Juniors.
Ginla was dealing with a hip surgeries last year, by the way.
Hip surgery. Okay, so not upper body. Okay, so I was definitely wrong there.
Almost upper body.
Almost, yeah.
Close. All right, let's move to the defense. And this is, another group that has a lot of talent, and a guy that is in the NHL that might potentially have, we'll see if the Flames actually choose to send him. Zane Parekh hasn't had a lot of success in the NHL. I mean, I thought he was going to have, I know we were talking about him in the Calder Trophy, or very early Calder Trophy race. Of course, out of that race now. Dayton, what do you see on this defense group? I mean, lots of great puck movers, a guy that's potentially going to be maybe a second overall pick coming up in this draft here.
Yeah, like I was talking about the potential NHL prospects joining the Canadians for the forwards, it's way more important that they do for the defense.
Yeah.
Let me just 1 second here. Sorry. in Daniel's list, he listed 3 guys who are currently playing in the NHL or AHL. You got Zane Parekh, like we mentioned. He should be on the team. He should have been on the team last year. Let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
You got Sam Dickinson, who is in the NHL with the Sharks, along with Misa. You're playing on the Sharks. You'll have some success, but it's still a bottom feeding team. And so he should probably return to the World Juniors and get maybe a little bit of retribution from being on the team last year. And then Harrison Brunnick with the Pittsburgh Penguins, he's doing all right. He's not quite finding it as easy of a transition as Kindle, but he made the NHL. I don't think anybody had him predicted to do that. And he's also played a few games in the AHL this year as well. Just 3 games, but he is a player who very much could help the defense. He was always a very strong defender when he was with the Kamloops Blazers. And I think he deserves a shot to be on this team. Now, if those guys don't come, the pickings are arguably quite a bit slimmer. So Canada really needs those guys to come in to keep their defense core strong. It's not completely slim. I think then you could turn to guys like Keaton Verhoff, who is looking fantastic in the NCAA. You could look at some draft eligible guys along with him, like Xavier Villeneuve, Carson Carrolls, Daxton Rudolph. He's one of my favorites for the upcoming draft. Ryan Lynn, a couple of guys who maybe are on the bubble there, Bryce Pickford or Taryn Smith. Taryn Smith's another one of my favorites. Just a real, pacey guy. He really a puck and knows where to be on the smaller side, but you sometimes need a smaller guy to really push that pace, and he can play that small guy game. You rely too much on a big heavy D-core, and all of a sudden they are a little slower, right? You can lose a step a little bit sometimes. But I think the current setup of the defense, excellent. Very quickly could turn into a bit of a mess if 2 of those guys or 3 of those guys aren't let back on the team.
Dickinson for the Sharks, he has been in and out of the lineup. They've kind of balanced between the veterans and the young guys. So I don't know how essential they're thinking he's part of the team. The Sharks are in that playoff bubble, which is interesting at this point of the season. So I don't know. Do you think that Dickinson, that for, let him go for a few weeks, does that really affect their defense enough? I don't know. They just have to make that decision. I think Parekh definitely is a guy Flames will be fine sending. They're down there in the bottom of the league right now. Parekh has been, again, a guy that's been in and out of the lineup. He's had some injury issues, I believe, as well. So that's something I think we'll see. But those are 3 key guys that you're going to want to have. And Brunnick has been kind of same kind of position, been in and out. He's been sent to the AHL on conditioning stint and as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Monday. These guys are going to be on the roster. Peter, have anything to add on this defense? I know there is a Maple Leafs prospect on there that could potentially make a difference in here too.
Yeah, I it kind of feels like it's inevitable that Zane Parekh is going to be lent for Team Canada. I feel like he's the more obvious one to go. Sam Dickinson, I agree with Dayton. I feel like, he's been in and out of the lineup. He has played 21 games, which is great experience for him. But I do feel like maybe give him one last shot after, he did have an own goal against Czechia. I think he wants a bit of redemption for that, because he's the kind of guy that wants to go out and battle and give it his all on the ice every single time he's out there. So if other players are in their mind and the Sharks do loan Dickinson, it does improve their depth tremendously. I think those 2 guys are going to be leading the charge offensively for Team Canada, or are going to be, key role players for them. Parekh with his offense, Dickinson with the 2-way acumen that he possesses. I wouldn't be doing justice here if I did not mention Keyshawn Aitchison, man.
Yeah.
I
left him for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because as I mentioned, Merrick Vanacker leading the league in goals with 24. He is leading all defenders with 18. And I can't remember seeing the last time where a defender has more goals than he does assists. So to me, if Canada, I mean, the one thing that Canada really needs to do is add a little bit more bite, a little bit more edge. And Cash can do that on a game-to-game basis or shift-to-shift basis, I should say, because he is, no matter who's in his sights, he is going to run them down and make a big-time hit. And if Canada wants to be, feared in this tournament, Keyshawn Aitchison is going to be that guy because of that physicality, but also that booming shot and the offensive awareness to jump in. He is very smart. And again, I'm going to do a quick check on here. He already has 4 game-winning goals and 2 overtime goals. So if it gets to 3-on-3, you can rest assured who you want to have the puck on their stick. Parak, definitely. Dickinson, definitely. But Keyshawn Aitchison is definitely going to be a guy you want. I was about to say Chase Reed, but we are going to talk about, him probably next week with Team USA. But Cameron Reed, I was a big fan of him during his draft year. I think with him and Ben Danford, it is a really, really great balance if that is a projected third pairing, Reed, again, great two-way ability. He's very smart, very patient. He can make strong breakouts and outlet passes. Same thing with Danford, but this is a guy that you want a defensive role, penalty killing, defending a lead, shot blocking, getting into the lanes, tying players up. This has been his MO for the last 2-3 seasons, and he continues to take massive steps for that in his development. And he's being dubbed the Maple Leafs top prospect right now with Easton Cowan graduating to the next level. So that is a really good plus for him. I do agree that, you got to look at Keaton Verhoff. You got to look at Xavier Villeneuve, Carson Karels as well. I was really impressed with his play during that Canada USA, showcase. I thought he was one of their best overall defenders in those 2.5 games with the super overtime, because he had a couple of good looks in overtime himself as well. So I think that last year they did lack a lot of mobility. You definitely have a lot of that right now, but again, you have the other aspects of the game. You got the physicality, you got the defensive awareness, you got the breakouts, you got the transitional play, and you got the size too. This is going to be a team that they have size, but they are very, very quick. And as we've seen with Verhoff in college right now, he's adjusted very well and he's picking up his pace. I think this is going to continue, or going to be a trend going forward for him at this tournament, where if he does make the team, and I think he does have a good chance, because this is a guy you can move up and down the lineup, and if he's better than some of the other defenders, why not get him in? Why not get him going in on the cycle in the offensive zone or in transition, leading a rush? So I think that the defense is definitely going to be more of a strength this time around, kind of like the forwards last year, because there was a whole lot of question marks and suspect play from everyone. But I think the defense is going to be very steady, and they're going to have more of an identity to be encompassing all aspects of the game, especially from the back end.
And we'll kind of rely on if these guys do go, these 3 big names. But like you say, there are some other guys they could turn to, which Verhoff might get a bigger role if that ends up being the case. But I think the defense is going to be better. We'll see how the whole team kind of goes once the final rosters are set out, and we'll do an episode, of course, after that as well, when we do our previews of all the teams. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Canada, because they've had a couple disappointing outings at the World Juniors, so we're going to need to get them back into the for sure gold medal game all the time, and they haven't had that lately. So we'll see how it goes. All right, next up, the goaltenders, and this is pretty set. The top 2 goalies right now, and Carter George and Jack Ivankovic. The third, like Daniel said, though, that's the question mark, who the third goalie will be. Peter, what do you think about the goaltenders? I mean, Carter George he's had a couple really great seasons, and he's probably the starter at this point.
Yeah, that's the main thing. You always have this question mark of who is actually going to start for Team Canada. There was that question mark last year, and it just did not work out as well. And then Carter George, I believe, Carter George, I believe, was the starter last year. So I think there was a little bit more stability last season, but, he didn't get enough help from everybody else in front of him. I think that was the main issue. I think he was going to be the main guy going in or leading the team onto the ice every single time. And I think that's going to be the case again right now. You know, you look at the numbers overall that he has this season. You know, 9-8-2, 900, 307. But again, the OHL is a very offense heavy league right now. You got a lot of skill and a lot of talent. So to have a 900 save percentage right now is very impressive, to say the least. Ivan Kovac, I'm a big fan of him. I think he, again, kind of like last year, the defense or the team in front of him kind of failed him, where he stood on his head in that one game. I believe it was Latvia. So I think that you got your 1-2 set right now. For the third one, and Lucas Beckman, I have no problem with him as the possible third goaltender. I mean, when you look at his results this year, it is not, the record isn't good. I mean, 4-14-3 with Baikomo Drakkar, 905, 329. But, you know, at the U18s, when he played in 2 games, you know, 0.75 goals against average, 955 save percentage. So he has experience with Team Canada. He can lock it in. He can keep the puck out. And I was very high on him. I believe I had him as a 3rd, maybe 4th rounder in my final rankings last year. But I wonder about, you know, Joshua Ravensbergen. I think that that's the one outlier where I think that if you really want a solid trio of goaltenders, and maybe if you want a little bit more size over Ivan Kovac, you can have George and Ravensbergen basically duke it out for the top role. But I think that's going to be going to Carter George regardless. So I think that though, I mean, any of those 4, I think is going to be great, but I feel like Ravensbergen may have a bit more of an edge because I think he's got that size and I think he could take up a little bit more of the net. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the goaltending right there. Again, we have a lot more options this time around and a lot more question marks in a good sense, as opposed to saying what can actually happen, what happens if plan A doesn't go well. You at least have an Ivan Kovac or a Ravensbergen as a B or C option in case plan A fails, but I don't expect Carter George to fail.
No. Yeah, the goaltending looks pretty good this time around. And like you say, I mean, Carter George was great in the last year. It's just the team in front of him kind of faltered a bit. Dayton, you have anything to add about the goaltenders? Possible what you think for a third guy there?
Yeah, I'll just quickly talk about Lucas Beckman, Senators prospect. I wrote a little bit about him earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I think. He has, yes, his record is bad, 4-14-3. But looking at what the Drakkar have for wins so far, it is 4. The Drakkar have 4. They've only won with Beckman in net. It's an awful
Says a
team
lot
this year. And the fact that he has a 905 save percentage on that team, I think Daniel was correct in kind of putting him as a potential third because he is playing out of his mind. Yeah, he is the only reason that the Drakkar are like they have wins, right? He's the only one that has them not being completely shut out for this whole season. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but it's also more fun. He mentioned Evan Gardner. He was at the summer showcase. He started the season really, really well. He's dipped recently. The Blades have been on a bit of a rough streak. It's not been all Gardner's fault, but sometimes you need a save every now and then, right? And he hasn't been on top of his game. And so he has dipped below 900 save percentage. There's no question that he is still probably the most skilled goalie in the WHL right now. Ravensbergen is doing much better, but I would argue that the Cougars are also doing better. It always goes hand in hand, right? Maybe one guy to keep in mind, just as like a dark horse candidate, William Lassell from the QMJHL. He's on the smaller side, so I can understand why if you went with Ivan Kovac and George, you wouldn't go for another smaller goalie. but he has a 927 save percentage as a 17-year-old with Rimouski, 2 shutouts already, and I think he's deaf. From what I read, I believe he's fully deaf in one year and partly deaf in the other, and so he reads the game way differently than everyone else, which kind of gives him a huge advantage because he's not relying on things that other goalies rely on. I think he could be a kind of Canadian goalie of the future. Bringing him along might give him that really necessary experience for taking over a starting job in the future.
It's an interesting one. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Canada kind of goes with their goaltenders, because it's always an interesting. Probably we'll see the 2 guys that were mentioned in the article, but yeah, we'll see who the third ends up being. Yeah, all right. We'll see what Canada puts out on Monday of what guys they do bring. But yeah, make sure to check out everything at thehockeywriters.com. We've got great articles already. World Juniors coverage already out there. Lots of projected rosters out there. Final rosters are just around the corner. There's going to be quite a few probably announced in the next week or 2. There are some nations that take forever to release their final rosters. But I know Canada will get theirs. US will have theirs pretty quick. But we'll see who everyone is bringing along to the World Juniors. We'll do our regular preview shows as well. But make sure to check in all that. We got great coverage, like I say, all throughout the World Juniors. And you should subscribe to the Prospect Substack newsletter. We'll keep you up to date with all the Prospect stuff and the World Juniors through there as well. But until our next video, we will see you next time.